Mic. Camera. Action.
I have something to talk to you about.
The only reason a dead guy shows up at my door. Revenge. Should have stayed dead.
I can get in.
I know how to repeat myself.
You ruined my snacks. Relax. I don't want to fight you.
And this is gonna end quick.
Welcome back to Filmography, the show dedicated to watching every credited film from an actor's complete back catalogue from past debut through to present day in chronological order. Each episode, I'm joined by an esteemed guest to watch and discuss the next entry from the focused filmography and consider how it ranks amidst their career and whether we can trace any typecasting trends or topic traits or theatrical tics. For episode 43, I'm joined by Little Chris and Nobody Dave to discuss the brief 43rd big screen appearance of the Stath in the ever-expanding Fast and Furious franchise, Fast X. We watch, you listen, and hopefully watch along too. So it's good to have you both back. We lost Dave for the last episode, sadly. Chris, we had a great time anyway, but it's nice to have you both back because we're coming at this from a really interesting position. Chris, I know like before you were coming down on Diesel for his kind of this becoming like his vanity venture. And whoa, you've probably got a lot to say about this one. And Dave, this is your first watch of kind of these later, bigger budget, even more ridiculous episodes. So I think there's going to be quite a lot to share tonight.
Oh, amazing. I've just been buzzing knowing that you've not seen it, Jack, and Dave must have fucking hated it, and I am here for it, my friend.
You know what, though? You come in, Chris, and you're like, oh, yeah, I fucking love these movies, mate, and you rip them more than anyone. I don't have a good word to say about it. I'm not sure what you like about it at all. You sort of hate watch it. It's a bit like reality TV, isn't it?
But, no, the original is, like I say, I will die on that hill. The original is amazing. There's supposed to be Fast X Part 2 or Fast 11, where it's going to be, is supposed to be back to its roots. But we've been hearing that since about the third one. So I don't know where it is. But yeah, I think watching this, and I did watch it for the second time, and I finished watching it today. It wasn't as bad as the first time I watched it a couple of months ago, but it was still. And I tell you why it didn't feel as bad today, because I've just watched fucking Godzilla v Kong, fucking Empire, whatever it is. What a load of horseshit that film is. Fuck a doodle do. That is a bad movie. So this actually seemed more realistic than that. I mean, fucking Godzilla's suplexing Kong. That is ridiculous. He does a proper suplex on him like it's a wrestling match. And the CGI was awful as well. And I did watch The Fall Guy, which I was really disappointed in. Everyone gave it really good reviews. And I found it really poor. I was disappointed in that so much. It didn't hit with me like I thought it would. I really. So I've watched 2 shit movies this weekend. So watching this actually didn't feel that bad, actually. So here I am.
I love that comparison. Like, because they were so shit, this shit isn't quite as shit.
Yeah, it's only this one's only 4 wipes instead of 10 like the other 2.
And Dave, did you skip 9? I guess you watched 8, didn't you? And then obviously, unfortunately, things happened and you couldn't
I'm a bit of a completionist when it comes to things that I like. But I figured there was no need. There was no need to watch 9.
Well, you know, John Cena. You don't know the roots of his character.
I think I'll be all right.
Well, I mean, let's say you've missed out there, Dave, because John Cena's his brother, but he's a baddie in the film. Shock horror.
What, you mean
it's
like
almost
fucking everyone?
Like everyone, Jason Statham. It's almost like even Charlie Theron in this movie. It almost gets a reprieve, which is utterly ridiculous considering she killed the mother of Dom's fucking kid. However, she's almost back into the fold, but it's obviously set up for Jason Momoa to turn good guy at some point. It's fucking ridiculous, this franchise. But anyway, you're right, Dave. I do hate on these movies, especially. I think the fourth one was a great return when they came back. We talked about this, and you haven't seen the fourth one. That was like sort of back to its roots and everything. And then the fifth one was okay with The Rock. That was good. After that, fucking hell, it's just gone downhill drastically.
Quarter of a mile at a time.
Oh, nice. Inches by inches, miles by miles.
Felt like quarter of a minute, hour by hour.
I mean, what I will give this one props for is the writing. I'm not saying like the dialogue's particularly good or like even like the set pieces, but that has managed to kind of wrangle together like 9 main films, and obviously we've got the Hobbs and Shaw spin-off, but like kind of 9 mainline films of this really complicated retcon continuity, and it does kind of all tie together in this one. Most of it kind of makes sense, putting aside all the stupid face heel turns and heel face turns and all that kind of stuff. But like how they managed to kind of rash them on Fast 5, and we see it from other people's perspectives, and then from that point onwards, really, isn't it? They've used Fast 5 as like the franchise reboot. From that point to now, from 5 to 10, how they managed to pull all that together, I think, is pretty good.
Yeah, I think Jason Momoa was good in it. I think I mean, Jason Momoa is about 6'5", something like that. He's a big fucking guy, and he's bigger than The Rock, who obviously pretends that he's 6'5", but he's about same height as me, about 6'2". He's a blagger. Well, Vin Diesel's about 5'10". But again, Vin Diesel just is indestructible. Dominic Toretto at this point, like I was reading a lot of the trivia about this movie, like with the Stath and everything being there. And obviously the Stath I believe that he is like a model actor on set. He's very respectful of people, but Vin Diesel basically can correct everything. It's just like, even though he's got Justin Lin actually left after a week, the director, he fell out because he said he came in, he was out of shape, he was always late. It's one of the reasons The Rock fell out with him, because he was so unprofessional, because basically he feels it is his franchise, he has a massive stake in it, but it's just the ego. And I feel that, like, I mean, I've called myself Dom Thanos because he's literally a titan of, he can destroy worlds, isn't he? Like, he's at the point where, and I said it before we started the podcast, like there's a Reddit thread which is utterly amazing, that he's actually stronger than Superman. And this movie especially, like, we said it when we did the last one. Dave was on, and obviously we, you know, the laws of physics mean absolutely nothing with this character. Everyone else lives within a sort of world of what they're doing. Like the Stave's brilliant in it. He's like this assassin. Every John Cena is the same. But fucking Dominic Toretto is just on another level now. From nicking, we said it last time, nicking videos and fucking TVs, to every single member of that team is now an assassin who can fight like one-on-one. Even Han, who was just a booster from when they were in Tokyo Drift. He was just a drift car racer. He's giving it some with the Stath at one point and pulling these moves out. Like, Mr. Nobody's trained them up to be trained assassins. It's utterly preposterous, I must admit.
So I'll reflect on the point that you actually made there, Jack, about the writing.
Yeah. I've just gone off.
Chris was ready to go there, wasn't he? He was like,
ready to go.
So in terms of the writing, for me, there is so much about this that is comic book. And I don't even mean comic book movies, but if you think, you know, going back Golden Age, Silver Age and whatever, you need to keep those comic books coming out every whatever it is, every month, every week, whatever the frequency is. So you need to keep that story moving forward. And it kind of makes a bit of sense. You get different writers in, and then they'll add a bit more to the lore and the continuity. And then the next writers have got to kind of reflect to that. But they're not. It's not like the internet was around then. So they're kind of be a bit fast and loose with continuity. That's what this sort of feels like to me. And just in terms of the writing. But get back to what Chris was saying about Dom Thanos. I mean, this is like... It's like you've taken those, well, not you, but the creators have taken those original movies. They've slammed it in with some comic book movies, because for the last 15 years or so, those have been quite in vogue. And also James Bond. Like those three things together And it's high octane, isn't it? It's larger than life, but I don't fucking get it. I just don't get it. It's just doesn't do anything for me at all. Some of the stunts and stuff look spectacular. The fact that you've got cameos galore, you've got a top tier list of actors there, all chomping at the bit to join something which for me is the equivalent of Sharknado. I don't get it.
I think, Chris, I agree with you. Like the fighting stuff is ridiculous. I wrote my note was like, Ham would not stand a fucking chance against Deckard Shaw. There's just no way he'd wipe the floor with him. But I kind of get that people like Tej, so Ludacris's character, and Mia, who are suddenly like these great, I guess, considering everything they've been through, they've had some fight training. I kind of get they're a bit better. And like Mia has the fight in the house, doesn't she? And she's a bit better, but she does get beaten.
She was making fucking tuna melts in the first one. Yeah. Now she's a fucking kung fu master.
But, after 20 years of this shit, you need to be, don't you? But the superhero stuff was like, I wrote the same thing down. That final scene on the dam when Dom decides to drive the car off the dam and then down there again, it had that kind of golden eye feel, didn't it? Like when he jumps off the dam and Pierce Brosnan, he bounces. But what jumped into my head to come back to the superhero stuff, and we started just before we started recording talking about this, and Chris, you were talking about that thread, was that it made me think totally of Superman, and that fact that my brain always goes back to, which is that idea of like his Kryptonian power like extends slightly past his body, which is why his suit never gets like that badly damaged. I think whoever came up with the idea was a fucking genius, because obviously for years, I guess people are asking this question, and then like you said, Dave, then the internet came about, so people could then sit and go like, well, why does a suit never rip? Because blah, blah, blah. And somebody came up with this theory, whoever it was. Dom has got the same thing. How does his suspension not break? How do his tires not pop? How do his wheels not collapse? His like super powered aura goes out into his charger, doesn't it? And just makes it not invincible because it gets damaged, but like how he can keep driving that car through. I mean, he drops out of a plane in this one onto two cars and they explode.
Armored cars.
They like explode outwards. He gets pulled and yanked all over the place by a helicopter.
About landing.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, then there's three scenes in this where his car takes out cars that are physically stronger than his. I'm not saying you wouldn't make a dent on them and do something, but two of them are armored cars, and he lands a Dodge Charger on them. And you watch Back to the Future, and the bit in Back to the Future 2 where he's got to get the almanac back, and then Marty says just drop on top of him, and he goes, no, that's the 1950s Chevy or whatever, and they still go for it like tinfoil or DeLorean. That's fine, it's aluminium. Dodge Charger's built a bit more, it's more robust. However, it's jumping out of a fucking plane at speed, a Hercules plane or whatever it is. It's ridiculous. And I think that's what the joke is now. It's like the car has now become part of his armor, isn't it? Like his plot armor. As long as he's he drove a different car when we did the last one, Jack. I think it was a Plymouth Barracuda, but Dodge Charger is what he's synonymous with. Everything is about Dodge Charger. And they've just released actual stills where he looks like he's on a Daytona racetrack in America with a Dodge Charger, and he says, we're doing the first pictures, and I'm thinking, fuck me, he's not going to win the Daytona 500 now, is he, as well, entering his Charger and just do like a Herbie, Herbie Rides Again, where he all of a sudden puts 53 on and he can beat everyone in races and that. So I just find that I went with it this time. It was a bit better, but it's so predictable, the set pieces, everyone, like he's, I think, was it us last time, Jack, or was it when we reviewed Dave, where we said, like, his team are fucking useless, and he's always. Was that we always together? That was you, me, you, and I think we were told. You said that was like he saves his team, and they're always fucking hindering him, and it's like, why are they even a team? Because they don't offer anything. Because Dom saves everybody at one point, like even his car.
Like Joss Whedon's Justice League.
Well, yeah. Release a Snyderverse Day, it is ridiculous where like he doesn't even need these people, and I think there's that many people in this movie who they've brought back in. It's like, what's the point? I read a review where it said like it's just like a fucking cameo set up in it. We remember who these people are, but they don't really offer anything to the movie. I mean, Dame Helen Mirren gets she's got the worst Cockney accent since Dick Van Dyke, and then she just just comes in for a couple of seconds with a word of wisdom, and it's like, all right, see you later. Cheers.
Yeah,
You know
but
what I mean?
I'd like to know how much she's getting for it. I mean, these
Well.
movies aren't shy with their budget, are they? This one, 340 to 370 million. I mean, they've got it to spare, haven't they?
They've only just broke even, apparently, with the marketing and that. They literally just broke even, they were saying. They made 700 and something million, but I think with everything else, the budgets, the marketing, it was but not a failure, but it wasn't what they thought, basically.
I mean, it's a lot to put up to just make a little bit of money. And if you think how much, I mean, even before you've shot a scene, you've signed up all of those actors. You know it's north of 100 million straight away. So, and all the effects that you want that need to be bigger and bolder than they were in the last movie, you couldn't make this on a small budget. So I mean, at some point it will collapse under its weight, I'd imagine. But I will just say I spotted a movie from the early 80s. Completely, I wasn't particularly looking for it. I just watched this though, and I watched this other trailer for this movie, Helen Mirren in the early 80s. Chris, it is on our list. We're hitting it at some point.
Not the one with Liam Neeson, is it?
Fucking is. How the fuck did you get that?
Because they were together as a couple, and I know that they actually did a movie together. And there's a sex scene in it. Excalibur,
yeah.
I only know because it was famous. They were on, I think it was Graham Norton about 10 years ago, and then nobody knew they were a couple. And then they lived together and everything. Yeah. So Dave, I'm not bringing out something. I've seen it because I haven't. I just know that interview.
Oh, man. Not yet. That'll be a hell of an episode because that is something special, that movie.
Oh, my God.
Angry Andy will be happy. When we did Hobbs and Shaw, he was, Dan and I were providing our views on some of the cast in that one. Isaac Gonzalez in that one. And Andy was like, no, forget all of that. He was all about Helen Mirren. He was like, now, back then, whenever she's available, whenever she's interested.
Yeah. I'm not adverse that to myself, if I'm being honest. Yeah. I'm with Andy on that. Very good. But no, I do think, like, even the introduction, obviously, we talk about the Stath, but even the introduction of the Stath is a little bit cheap in it. I think he's a really, really good character in the franchise. I think he carried it in the films that we've covered, and Hobbs and Shaw is a great film. I thought I watched that in the cinema. It was a bit more grounded. Idris Elba was good, and you've also got that potential. Dave, I know you're not going to watch it. Idris Elba could literally turn up in the next one, and he was a baddie. Another baddie. The Rock was a baddie. The Rock was the cop after Dom, and somehow they made him into the baddie, and then he just threw his career away. Now he's part of the family, and apparently they say family 56 times in this movie as well. So,
me, that opening.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And I said about the actors will cost so much. You've got all the stunts. What about that fucking de-aging that's going on there at the beginning when he's teaching his son how to drive?
Yeah.
It's very clearly like de-aged a little bit there. Again, I don't know if that's the ego. He's just trying to shave a few years off, but there was no story reason for him to be de-aged.
Oh, well, yeah, because they did flashbacks to the old films, but they just kept the original footage in. Whether they do cosmetically change a little bit of it to make him look even younger, I don't know. But yeah, he's a very, very strange character, I find, Vin Diesel. Like, I watched the show. You've probably never seen it. He was a bouncer, allegedly. He probably wasn't. He's probably a club goer and fantasized that he was a doorman. But apparently he's a bouncer in New York. And he did a 6-part TV show. And it was really good, about doorman. He wasn't in it. He was like the director or the producer. But it was like a half-hour show about doorman in New York. And it was like one of them ones that said we on Peacock as a limited run. He never did a second series about 10 years ago. But it's really good. Really, really good show about his life. But the ego of his character in it, he was supposed to be him. He wasn't called Vin or whatever. He was indestructible, this Dorman, the head guy. But it wasn't a bad show, to be fair.
I'd quite like to talk about Little B, actually, his son, the character, and how I'm going to use the word evolved across the 3 movies, because he's a baby in Fast 7, which you've obviously seen, Dave, and then he's a bit older in Fast 8. Is this right? Is he in Fast 7? No, he's not in Fast 7, is he? He's in Fast 8.
Fast 8, yeah.
He's a baby in Fast 8. because Deckard has to save him from the plane, doesn't he? And then he's a bit older in Fast 9. And then obviously now, and they sort of tried to do the time jump in real time, which I quite appreciate. Is what, about 10 maybe? And we know even like sitcoms and stuff, sometimes they jump, then they like season 2 ends and the kid's 4, and then season 3 ends and the kid's 10, and they just think, fuck it, let's just do it anyway. But I'm trying to put this delicately. He's Vin Diesel's son, and he's Elena is the character, isn't it?
Yeah.
Her son. But in this movie, he's black.
Thank you. I was trying to think, because obviously I haven't seen number 9. I was like, what the fuck happened there? I'm sure in it. When the mum got killed, I thought she was white.
Yeah. He's a white baby in 8. He's a Latino toddler, if that's the right term, Latina. I'm sorry if I'm offending, but I don't mean to, in 9. And now he's a black boy. Something weird is going on across these movies.
The multiverse.
Yeah, I think in real life, isn't Vin Diesel of colour, that this origin there in his family background? There's something that I think maybe he's Italian as well. But yeah, I didn't even pick up on that at all, to be fair. But you're right, his mother in it is actually a Mexican Latino. So I don't know. It's a pass for me.
It's Elsa Pascal, isn't it? It's Chris Hemsworth's wife in real life that plays her, isn't it?
Yeah.
And she's South
bizarre.
American descent. Yeah, it's odd, isn't it? As soon as it's on screen, and I was like, oh, who's this kid he's teaching to drive at too young an age? And he's like, come on, little B. And sorry, what?
Yeah. And to be fair, that is playing to the audience, because obviously we know Paul Walker's passed away, but in the universe, Brian is still alive. So even though they're family and he's his best bud now and all that stuff, it still seems weird that you would call your son your best friend, who's, if he'd passed away in the franchise and they're like, Brian's gone, because it still makes no sense, any of this, that as a character, there is talk of an AI version of him appearing, or like some old footage and at the end of like Fast 11, but it makes no sense whatsoever, unfortunately, because of Paul Walker's passing, that he isn't involved. And the fact that Mia's there, his wife, she's putting herself in danger, and he's sat somewhere schlepping in a 7-seater fucking minibus, taking the kids to school, like we see. It doesn't make any sense at all. That doesn't, as a character and what he stood for, and being by ex-FBI and everything, he should have just gracefully done it in such a way that it's like, Brian's gone, and it goes, like a Bonnie and Clyde, what's it? Thelma and Louise job, over the side of a thing, or something that signifies his character, and it makes perfect sense. But like the fact that he's still alive in the universe, it never sits well with me. I like the fact they've carried the franchise on, but the fact that his character is never really talked about, considering he was so important, how Dom got where he is, it's just bizarre, I think.
He could have just moved off to Europe or something. But like you say, you've got to write Mia out as well. It's got to be lock, stock and barrel, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So it is a bit weird. But that's not the only weird thing, is it?
No.
I did find it particularly bothersome in this one, because there's just not even any mention of him, really. Just a line, a drop line or something about like, oh, he's off doing this, or he's taking the kids on a tour around Europe, but then they go to Europe. So I don't know, as long as everybody is happy, and I'm assuming they, if they signed off on it, for him to appear in some way in 11, I think it would be a nice thing to do. I think, if his estate or his family sign off on it. I'm not a big proponent for like AI people coming back. I
think that is a slippery road. I don't think that would be a good thing. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. And that opens the doors up to just using people's likenesses, and particularly when they don't have a say in it. I think I think for me that would be over the line.
That's interesting, isn't it? I think I've read that his brothers have said they won't come back, and we know that they did a lot of the stuff to get 7 finished. They did like the face mapping, and so I think they've said that they won't do it.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? I mean, his daughter's in this. She's the
that's right.
To Jacob Meadow, his daughter's actually in it. She's the they're always respectful of him. I don't think, and I'm not calling them out for that, because it's a very, very tricky situation. But I think it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, the fucking movie makes sense, so I don't even know why I'm even asking a logical question, because they've just gone beyond the point of no return. Now, these cars are just literally superhuman, aren't they? They might as well be Transformers the way it's fucking going. I mean, I believe it more if Optimus Prime was fucking there and he just jumps in Optimus Prime, Dom, because he's pretty much Optimus Prime, isn't he?
I mean, in Hobbs and Shaw, obviously Idris Elba's bike is pretty much a transformer in that one, which obviously you haven't seen, Dave. But yeah, it does, and it even makes the noise when it's like doing a little transformer move. But we get like a TIE fighter noise in this one. I don't know if you guys picked up on it.
Yeah. Near the end, wasn't it?
In the tunnel in Portugal.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I didn't spot any Wilhelm screams or anything, but I did spot the old TIE fighter there. I thought, again, what a weird choice to randomly stick in there.
And you were mentioning like James Bond, Dave, but also that scene with Jacob and Little B escaping from Reyes and his crew in Portugal, that was very Mad Max as well, I thought, because we had like the dusty scenario and the like kind of pieced together car with the malfunctioning weapons, and that all felt kind of Mad Maxy to me. And again, it's like you said, Chris, and like you said, Dave, you know, this is popular right now. Furiosa is coming out, so let's have a scene a bit like that. And Skyfall and No Time to Die, you know, let's take a couple of bits from those as well. And it's quite piecemeal in that way, isn't it?
It's almost like, I feel like it's like the beginning of Toy Story 3, when the child is just got all these eclectic toys and just making them play together. He's just doing all this random shit that makes no sense at all. I mean, Toretto uses a fucking helicopter as a slingshot to fire at a car with his son in it, but to just clip the back enough to sort of stop it. It's like,
what?
Fucking hell.
No, but what about when he's in Rome? Is it Rome where you can see that them like fucking things are rolling down the hill and they're going to hit a load of people in a coffee shop? So he's got the sense at 100 miles an hour to go, no, knocks out the fucking parasol and protects everyone that's having the fucking cappuccino. It's fucking nonsense. The speed and the way they talk at the speed, and they're talking to each other as if subliminal people can hear them. It's fucking ridiculous. Like, even I was like, come on now, you're taking the piss.
It was a weird kind of Death Star bomb as well, wasn't it? At the start there, doing an Indiana Jones type thing. And what is the momentum forcing that thing forward? Because it kind of falls down, but then it doesn't get slowed down by friction or anything. It just keeps going and going and going.
I'll be honest, I fucking loved that scene. I thought it was brilliant. Like all the excess, I don't care. Like, I thought, you know, what you said, like the pylon and the pylon and the pylon, and they've just stopped it. Oh no, it's rolling again. I thought it was great. I thought it was a really well put together scene. And in Fast 9, they have the magnet cars, which is brilliant. And in Fast 7, which we watched when they have like the convoy chase after parachuting down, that's probably the highlight of the whole franchise for me. But this is up there. I thought it's really good because Vin doing like the drifting down the Spanish steps is brilliant. And the little like bike jump that Letty does. I thought this like 20-minute sequence for me was the high point of the movie and really hit all the things that I want to see in this kind of silly, over the top action blockbuster. But
I do think as well, though, you say that when Letty's telling fucking Clint Eastwood's son, Scott Eastwood, she goes, get out of there. She's got a fucking bike helmet on. They've not got microphones or anything, but he can understand that she's telling him to jump out of that armed truck with fucking triple glass, double glaze, triple glazing, whatever it is, but he knows to jump out. I thought, again,
telepathy, right?
Yeah, it's just, I said I'm shitting on this movie, but I really enjoyed it this time. Honestly, the first time I watched it, Jack, I was like, and I was laughing when we recorded, all of us, and when me and you recorded, I was like, I can't wait for Dave to see this. And I said it to you, Dave, when we recorded. But like I say, maybe it's because of the absolute trash that I watched this weekend. I actually just went with it more this time. Even the end bit, which when I watched it the first time, me and Sam were looking at each other going, are we? And like I say, we've been to the cinema to watch all these, and this is the first one we haven't watched at the cinema, and we're looking at each other going, what the fuck is going on here? You know, like, but I think everything they do, and there's no real explanation now, because they're not really working for Mr. Nobody, but there isn't really an explanation of how they're getting all these vehicles made. And it's just expected that they've literally got a hangar and their mechanic. Well, Dom's a mechanic, really. All the others, like Roman and Tej and that, they're mechanics as well because they were street racers, but and Letty. But it's sort of like they wouldn't physically be able to do that. I know Mr. Nobody's there, and you've got like Jack.
Yeah,
Reed,
the road mission's with Little Nobody, isn't it? So I guess he's still using them as part of his team, isn't it? Mr. Nobody is clearly in the universe and is going to pop up again somewhere, isn't he? But
yeah,
I know what you mean though. But it's always been the same. I think you said it, Dave, in the last episode we did together. You know, let's pop to Abu Dhabi and just get all the most expensive, fastest cars that you can get there to just really subtly drive around so nobody notices us. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
That's brilliant, actually, isn't it? Let's pull up at the bottom of the Burj Khalifa or wherever. Oh, Abu Dhabi, so not in Dubai, are they? Abu Dhabi. And it's like, oh, where's that crew of American street racers that I wanted around the world? Oh, there they are in the flashy suits and flashy cars, all different coloured cars, and a big yellow one, a red one, a green one.
Revving your engines. I'm looking for Dominic Toretto.
What? Not the one driving the American muscle car. That's all he drives, American muscle cars, which is bizarre. And I said it when we did last time, because in the first movie, he drives a fucking, I think it's a Nissan NSX as well in the first movie. He's not even driving a muscle car till the end because it's his dad's car that he's scared of driving. He doesn't even go near the muscle cars. But ever since then, he's been known as the muscle car guy, which
he's got over his phobia, you see. So now he's, that was the one thing that could stop Dominic Toretto. You know, it's like in Unbreakable, the one thing that could stop Bruce Willis is water. Here it was the muscle cars, wasn't it? But now he's got the power.
Oh, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
What did you think of is it Alan Richardson, the guy from Reacher? Now I've not seen Reacher, so I can't compare it really to that. What do you think of him in this?
Have you seen Reacher, Dave?
No, I think I've seen him. He's in the DC shows, isn't he? I think as Hawkman or something.
He was Aquaman, wasn't he, in Smallville?
Yeah,
years ago.
I mean, he is a big old fella, and he had some of the cheesiest lines ever. I mean, I know we get the old double cross, don't we? But basically, he's trying to take Dominic Toretto in, but then suddenly out of nowhere, he's like, "Okay, I'm with you now." Like, yeah, fuck off. And again, I just don't get it. I don't get why when other movies get critiqued, like, you know, and the writing's off and the production is lazy and the dialogue's silly or whatever. I get that the stunts are amazing and everything's larger than life here. Again, not too many upskirt shots in this one, but you know, you got a little bit near the end. I just don't get why this gets a pass. I don't get why people are like, oh, just switch your brain off and just watch it. And I don't think it's switching your brain off, just calibrating your brain for this kind of thing. Now, if this was a 90-minute movie or something, I think I could go with it. Like you say, the as ridiculous as it is, like all movies are slightly ridiculous, so you can suspend disbelief. But when it just stretches it and stretches it and stretches it, I just think, you know, this is nearly 2.5 hours. Why? It's just action scene.
Why isn't it 3? Why isn't it 4?
Ooh, family. Family. Yeah, action scene. And it's just fucking nonsense. Like I say, I don't get it. I don't get why this has such a pass.
You know what? I don't know what you were saying, Dave, about like Alan Richardson and Jack Reacher. I've watched Jack Reacher and I really, really enjoyed both the shows. I've even watched it twice now because Sam ended up deciding she was going to watch it because of the new series. Honestly, it's a brilliant, but there is a little bit of the Dominic Toretto's about Jack Reacher because I won't spoil it. I think it's brilliant. I really, really enjoy it. And they're filming the 3rd series. I think they filmed it and there's a 4th one, but he is literally indestructible, which I think in the books is more believable because he's supposed to be 6'5" in the books. He's not Tom Cruise, a short ass. He's not like, you know, like nobody could buy Tom Cruise's Reacher, even though I thought they were pretty good movies, and he is like that. But I do think
so did Lee Child, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
He was really against Cruise, wasn't he? But then when he saw the finished product, he was like, oh, actually, okay, he's not right for the look, but he's good as playing the role.
Yeah, it's very good. I always love the fight scene in the bar with that guy and his misses and stuff. But yeah, he it's interesting because that fight scene that he has in this movie, Dave, is pretty much Jack Reacher. Five guys try and take him out, and it's like, oh man. But even since I think he filmed this in about 2021. I think this is he sat on the shelf for nearly 18 months because of COVID and stuff like that. They went to release it in the cinema. You want to see the fucking size of him now. I mean, he's a big guy anyway. I think he's realistically 6'3", but they bill him as 6'5" in Reacher. He is a big guy, but he's fucking massive in that second series of Reacher. He has been definitely taking the Hulk Hogan Ultimate Warrior fucking vitamin stack. I'm telling you, he's a big lad. And he admits it. He says like he's taking stuff, enhancements, you know.
Vitamins.
Sorry. But yeah, I think he's brilliant in that. I would recommend watching that. I thought it's a great show. Great show.
He's sort of a logical choice for this because obviously Hobbs is not in it at the moment. Dwayne Johnson is not in the movie. So he kind of makes sense to be brought in, but I don't feel like he just... I'm interested to watch Reacher because I don't think he quite has enough charisma here in this role. But I don't know whether it's the part, whether it's him. You're right, Dave. That scene that he has with Brie Larson as Tess, as Miss Nobody, is one of the worst scenes I've watched in a movie. Scripted, directed, acted, like the CGI of the screens around them is one of the worst things I've seen for a really long time, that scene.
I wonder if it was a rushed reshoot or something like that.
It did have that feel to it. I mean, it had a couple of moments. I thought when he says, "Oh, they're a cult with cars," and then she says, "Oh, I'm a barbecue and beer away from corruption, am I?" I noted those two lines down because I thought they were two decent lines. Amidst this kind of maelstrom of crap,
you know, I'll tell you, I don't know if you guys saw in some of the trivia for the movie, but Brie Larson said about the franchise. She said, "Oh yeah, I used to love these watching them when I was a kid." Fucking hell!
How old is she though? I don't actually.
I think I looked, and when the first one come out, she would have been 11. So, and the second one came out pretty soon after the first one, didn't it? Maybe
was that
2000 or 2 years?
2001, the first one.
The first one was
Okay. All right. I was 21, so
I was 23, I think. Well, that's you, Dave. I've got to throw an old joke.
Why's Dave gone so quiet?
No, I was just checking. It was 2001.
34.
He's just trying to work out the numbers in his head.
I know. I know I was already in a job working, and so that's like adulthood for me. So yeah, it's just a bit weird.
She's an odd choice for this, I think.
Yeah, I don't see what she really added. 2003. That's what I was looking for. The second one,
and I feel for her because she's become this kind of victim of fandom a little bit. I don't know why. Sometimes somebody just gets picked by fans and they decide they don't like them, and no matter what they can do. So I don't agree with that at all. And I think she's perfectly decent as Captain Marvel, if I'm honest. And I really like her from Scott Pilgrim, and so I've got nothing against her as a person at all. But I just don't. Yeah, I don't think she adds much value to this. I agree with you, Dave. When Charlize Theron came in, she added a lot of value. When The Rock came in, he added a lot of value. Jason Momoa adds tons of value. He is brilliant in this, I would say.
I'll give you that.
Is a bit lost in this, isn't she?
I agree. Yeah, she is. I mean, again, with all of the other cameos, I don't really understand what the point was, other than to bring in someone else who is, a big name in another franchise, and then bring them on screen as well. The things that I'll say positive, I thought Momoa was having the time of his life. To be fair. I think he was having so much fun on screen and just being this kind of very different character to, a Dothraki or something like that. This was completely different. I actually really liked John Cena's performance as well. He was kind of being a bit goofy and a bit silly as well. So those were two performances I didn't mind. No, even more than that, I did enjoy them.
Yeah, I agree because I think in the one where Cena comes into it, the one before Dave, when he's like the baddie, he's not doing the wisecracking Cena. John Cena's great playing this character. He's the tough guy, but he's a bit like he's like Ryan Reynolds. Really, John Cena's good at playing that sort of. poking fun at himself. He's always he's always almost looking at the camera, breaking the fourth wall. He's that he's an absolute psychopath, but he smiles with it. And that's what he does in this. Whereas his character in this is completely the opposite. In the film previously, where we get introduced to him, he's basically Dom Toretto, but like a secret assassin, isn't he, really? He's an absolute fucking maniac. But somehow the Familia fucking gets a grip on him and he ends up in the cult of Toretto. And obviously he's a Toretto, but there's no mention of a brother or anything until it's literally the last film. Is it the one before? It's very bizarre because even Mia doesn't mention him. There's nothing in the other films. It's just a bit of a plot device. The old classic EastEnders one. Oh, well, you know what? I had a one-night stand once. Oh, hang on. Here's 3 kids you've born out of that one-night stand and you just come into the square as a family. It's bullshit. But yeah, I agree. And I think Momoa was brilliant because I thought he was going to kick the shit out of Dom. When they had that fight on the bridge, I thought he's going to fucking nail him. And he just went full on Joker 1966, didn't he? He was literally Caesar Romero. He's just like, he was so camp and just taking the piss. And physically, you could see for their life they were trying to make Vin Diesel look as big as him. He's throwing this guy around like he's a fucking, like a little kid or something. And he's fucking huge, Jason Momoa. It's just, that's what I don't buy. Like, he's got that B.A. Baracus about him, Vin Diesel, where he literally, we just need that over-the-shoulder throw that used to be the A-team in the 80s. Like, he can physically throw people and rip car door. He even flipped a fucking car in this one.
Oh, however, he picks up.
However, Dave, and I've said this before, one thing I need you to research at the end of this movie, at the end of this podcast, and it's on YouTube, is The Rock basically holding down an Apache fucking helicopter in Hobson Shaw with a chain. He wraps a chain round his arm, holding onto the back of a pickup truck, and somehow keeps this fucking massive helicopter at bay. It doesn't rip his arm out of his socket, it doesn't mutilate him. He pulls it towards him pretty much. You were saying about Vin Diesel earlier. That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. And that is The Rock flexing on his character.
And it sounds very much like Captain America trying to stop the helicopter getting away. But he's a fucking superhero.
Yes. You've got to see it to believe it. I was in the cinema tapping Sam going, are we fucking watching this? I remember Sam going, just fucking watch it, shut up. I'm like, well, come on. Fucking ridiculous. He's literally just pulling this helicopter to, it's ridiculous. At speed as well.
But I mean, again, I'm theorizing here because I don't get it. But I mean, for people who love this franchise, don't you accept that they are superheroes now? They're not people. I mean, even we laugh, don't we, going back and watching stuff like Lethal Weapon, and it's sort of ridiculous. They are basically superheroes. But this is a different level. This is just like, Dominic Toretto could fall out of a skyscraper, hit the deck, and then just dust himself off at the bottom and just walk off, and it would just be in keeping with everything else that we see.
Yeah, well, I mean, his son jumps out of a spinning, speeding car in this one at perfect timing, and he grabs him through the window. So, his son at 10 can do all that shit because he's inherited the superpowers, hasn't he? It's like Superman's kid in Superman Returns, isn't it?
He literally had to fly to make that move.
Yeah, but even Scott Eastwood, when I said Letty's telling him you've got to get out of that thing, and he rolls out like the car's going about, that Jeep thing he's going about 5 miles an hour. It's like 80 miles an hour, and he does a couple of, and then just looks up at the camera like, oh yeah, fine, everyone. It's like, come on.
What was the score though? I mean, so everyone has got these ridiculous superpowers. And weirdly, John Cena sacrifices himself for what I could not figure out was a reason. Like, what was that? Something behind the scenes? Did he have it in his contract that he should be killed off? Is that what is it? Because that made no sense either.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because it makes sense plot mechanics in terms of like it's the ultimate redemption for a previously bad guy, isn't it? To give your life up, particularly for a child. That's like that's kind of a cliche thing to do. But nobody else has needed to do that to be redeemed. Like they've just been accepted, and I know he has been accepted by this point, but I don't know. I read it as in, what's the ultimate thing you can do where you sacrifice yourself for one of your familiar, particularly the youngest one. He's a busy guy, right? He's got Peacemaker season 2 to go.
I can't wait for that.
Exactly, yeah. And, you know, I'm sure people are knocking on his door every day asking him to do stuff. So, yeah, I'm not sure. Did you read anything, Chris?
Well, I think they do get on, but obviously, Dave, did you watch any of the end credits?
No. I think you, but I think I know. I'm sure you pinged me and I looked it up. I just can't. My memory's gone though.
No, The Rock does. So obviously, we talked about the big falling out between them two, and how he'd never be in, and they were still slating each other. And then, but then the build up to this movie, Vin Diesel then posts a picture of The Rock, and you know he's back in the family and they're fucking best buddies again, and all this. But there's a cameo, so you get Gal Gadot at the end, don't you? And then you get The Rock comes.
That was it. That was.
She's been killed off. She's been killed off though, Dave. She's actually been killed off
since film 6.
Yeah, so
this is fucking Days of Our Lives, isn't it?
It's ridiculous. It's Bobby Yu in this in a fucking shower. I mean, everyone's going to come back at one point. I mean, it's true because her and Han were both killed, and Han was a street racer, but then we're supposed to believe that Mr. Nobody, you know, faked his death. I don't think John Cena's dead. I'll be honest with you. Even watching it, and he's doing the whole fucking holding the cross and all that, and it all blows up.
I think, yeah.
He probably fell down a sewer or something that was open by accident, and he just flew through before the fire got him.
I think he is, isn't he?
Sorry, yeah. I'm literally turning into the woman from Misery here. He didn't jump out of the cockamamie car. They don't fucking do that. But sorry, Jack, cut across you.
No, I was just going to say, like, I hear what you're saying, Chris, but I think he probably is because all the guys in the plane aren't. And I think you can't have these two fake outs. That's ridiculous. You can't have Chewbacca in Rise of Skywalker. I hate that fake out moment in that movie. You know, when Rey's holding onto the ship using the Force, and then they fake out that Chewie gets killed. So you can't have a John Cena fake out and the plane crew fake out. And if one of them is going to be dead, it's got to be John Cena over 4 main characters, hasn't it? So
yeah,
that's the only reason why I think that one probably will stick. And I hadn't even thought about like kind of past history and wrestling, and if they've managed to convince The Rock to come back, it makes sense that John Cena then has to step aside for that to happen. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, because they wrestled each other in 2014 and fucking hated each other. John Cena laid into him in like the promos, and Rock wasn't happy about it. And then there was a scene where The Rock's one of the best promo guys, but he had some of his promos written on his hand, and The Rock, some of the lines that he'd written for himself, because he does a lot of it off the cuff, but he had a few lines lined up because John Cena used to do the rapping. And Cena ripped into him, and you actually see physically it wasn't a work, as they call it. It was genuine. The Rock's going to kick his fucking ass. And Cena's apologized for it since then, because he was calling him like a part-time wrestler. You come back, you take all the money, you steal all the shows. Like The Rock did this year. He made sure this year he came back from January, literally all the way through to WrestleMania. Not all every week, but he was justified in his promos and that, because when he's done it before, he's literally just turned up, and he was supposed to come back and win the title from nowhere. He's not even wrestled for years at 50 years old, but he came back, looked good. But so Cena's now apologized loads of times in different things, saying that I was wrong. It was narrow-minded of me. Rock elevated the product, blah, blah, blah. So they're on a good space. However, The Rock can't lose a fight, and that's where the billing comes with Vin Diesel. And not that he's going to fight against Cena, but I just cannot see him having both together in the movie. I really can't.
Interesting, isn't it? And when you've got Jason Momoa, who's willing to be flamboyant and to do something different, and to stand out from the pack, to not just be like an oiled up, bald-headed, muscled man, which everyone else is. I'm putting Statham there as well, to be honest.
Yeah,
he's willing to, go the extra mile and to have a character. Yeah, very kind of Jokerish Batman 66, but also Joker from Chris Nolan from The Dark Knight as well, isn't it? That the way that his plans and his machinations come together, of like getting them all to the bridge in Rio, and in order to get God's eye, and then getting them all. Well, this is what I wanted all along, was for you to be at this down with your son in the car. Oh, but hang on, 5 minutes ago you had him in your car, so how did you know that was going to happen? It's all very silly, but he's just, as you said, Dave, he's having a great time. There's just one moment I really loved in Rio, just before they had their street race, and he comes out of his car and he does like a little curtsy to Dom, and he's like, enchanté. There's just a delivery there, which was just really wonderful. And it was clearly, it felt like a Momoa moment. And he's just having fun with it.
Yeah, I like it. I like his hair. when he has his hair tied up, like say,
scrunchies.
yeah, like his niece or someone's just going, "Come on, we're going to do your hair because you've got long
Paint the
hair."
nails.
Yeah, and he's just, yeah, exactly. Yeah, put some mascara on you. Something like he's really camp his character, and I also think maybe that's why Alan Richardson's character's there, because he's going to be the one who'll give Dom the fight. I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping Jason Momoa just kicks the shit out of Dom at this point. I really, what he's just not going to do it, is he? He's just going to be like this evil baddie who doesn't really lay a glove on him at some point.
Well, they're saying Hobbs and Reyes is now going to be kind of fast 10.5.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah.
So we're going to get Hobbs and Reyes first. So I assume that's the one when he decides to turn good. Yeah. So he can then be a good guy in Fast 11.
Just fucking don't know. It's ridiculous. Fucking ridiculous.
And before watching this, when I did Hobbs and Shaw with Dan and Andy, we were talking about, until this point, Momoa has been fine for me. He's not been anything special. I think this is probably the best that I've ever seen him, if I'm honest. Now, having seen this, I think actually Hobbs and Reyes, that's quite an enticing prospect. I'm quite interested in seeing that. Whereas before I was thinking, Hobbs and Shaw really works. Rock and Stath have got really good chemistry together. When they're doing the zingers with each other, it fires and it works. But actually I can see it with Momoa doing this character, really kind of perhaps something Hobbs, The Rock isn't used to. I can see there being some quite good sparky moments between the two of them there.
Yeah. It'd be a lot of brother comments on social media. Cheers, brother, and all this.
Sure.
There'll be all that, won't they? Why? Great experience with my, brother Jason Momoa and all this. But yeah, you're not allowed to punch me actually because I'm The Rock, sort of thing. You're gonna get all that bollocks, aren't you? So, yeah, I find that bizarre. They're going to do a movie with that, The Rock, a spin-off. But obviously we need to be talking about Jason Statham, and I still think he's the best character in this movie for the brief time he's in it. And I'm not just saying it because we're doing the podcast, just because Momoa's great. He's the best, obviously the best baddie by far. I think he steals every scene, but I think Statham just being a bit of a badass martial artist for what we see of him. You want more of his character because everyone else is just a fucking waste of time in the movie other than Dom. They're just absolute fluffers for him out. You might as well just fucking drop to your knees and fucking suck him off the way they are. They're absolutely fucking useless. Fucking him. Fucking useless.
I mean, they are literally just off in a subplot doing nothing, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're literally doing nothing for this whole movie.
They're just dicks, aren't they? I mean, you've got two of them fighting each other at one point. It's ridiculous. Yeah, so, yeah, they waste the time. Just kill all them fuckers off.
In-betweeners style, that fight, wasn't it? That's what I made me think of.
We just need a Jon Snow bit, don't we, where Dom Toretto's in the middle of a field with his vest on, stood next to his charger, and there's like 300 fucking cars and police and tanks and submarines coming at him, and he's ready.
Honestly, I can imagine someone would be there with a flamethrower, and he'll just whip off his wife beater's vest, just hold it up. There we go. Put it back on.
Just
shake that off.
Yeah. And he ripped the car door off, didn't he? And used it.
Yeah.
The fucking them doors are not bulletproof, but for some reason they were.
He's had lots of Hulk-like moments. I mean, the car and stuff out of this one, but I still remember the Hulk smash stomp that he did in 8, I think it was. Was it 7 or no? It was,
yeah,
it was
that's in the fight with Stath in 8. Yeah,
yeah. The about the streets, and that a lot of the dialogue. It's written by AI. It's like you've just thrown. These are all of the cliches. Say something about the streets. Oh, this is the way you beat Dominic Toretto. You take the streets away. Oh, fuck off. And I've got to mention it as well. I get to nearly 2.5 hours of this shit, and then it doesn't even have a conclusion, and I had no idea. And I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Did you setting up a sequel? There was literally nothing happened after that ridiculous getaway." Yeah, I was not happy.
Yeah, they're getting you to come back for more, Dave, aren't they?
Oh, fucking hell. I don't know. I mean, genuine question. Can this, how long can this franchise carry on for? So I was just looking. It made 714 at the box office. So just about double the budget. Not really making that much money. They're going to make a spin-off, so 10.5 you just mentioned, and then 11 people really people have an appetite to keep going back and seeing what the next installment is.
So that's what they're saying, isn't it? That 11 will be it.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, right, exactly, yeah. Until that makes $1 billion, and then
spin-offs.
yeah.
Well, how old is he, Vin Diesel? Let's investigate. He must be 1967, so he's nearly 60. In 3 years' time, he's going to be 60. All right, he looks good, but come on.
I don't know. Stallone, Arnie, they all keep bringing the neck out of it, don't they?
Yeah, maybe his vest will turn into a cardigan or something as the franchise goes. I don't think this is going to be the end of it. He said it is. I don't think it is. I think what you were saying, Jack, about like the Hobbs, spin-off with Reyes, we're going to get Dom's fucking son, aren't we? And then Dom's going to come back in the next film and save the day as his juvenile son's fucking getting in with the bad guys or some bullshit like that.
Like a Rocky Creed
scenario. A Disney fucking 6-part show, which I believe they were looking at. Steve Rogers one I read the other day for bloody the Infinity Stones, of how they came back and all this. Whether it's animated, I don't know. So maybe you could get that. Young B becomes the street racer. His dad, he goes and avenges his dad's fucking, I don't know whatever. He lost the race once, so he's going to go and fucking beat him or something. I don't know. It's stupid.
Yeah, but to tie this together and to come back to Stath, which I guess you're right, Chris, we have to do that at some point. I think for you, and I agree, and this is why he always stands out, and I'm interested in what you think, Dave, is because whatever he does feels a bit more grounded. We believe the Stath can do the things he does. Like, he can kick all those agency operative asses. He can, tool up, and we expect that Stath can go off and be a one-man army and go and save Helen Mirren mum, and because he has that kind of natural charisma. He feels, despite everything, a bit of an everyman, because we know his journey, we know where he started, we know who he is as a person. We know that through it all, through 1 billion movies, through 2 massive Meg movies, he still seems a fairly grounded, normal guy. So I think that is why he stands apart in these movies for me.
I think for me, I'd agree with it. The action scenes with him in it are the best ones. Like, he's the one martial artist there, so you're kind of, it is a bit more believable. The other guys, all of them, they're just huge, aren't they? So they've got big power moves. Yeah, they can pick someone up and slam them into the floor or whatever. But with Statham, the way he's moving, and you can tell it's not a stunt guy, it is actually him. I think it all does look really good. And of course, he's from fucking Derbyshire or something, isn't he? But he's sort of a wannabe Cockney. He's sort of developed this Cockney hardman accent. So, yeah, I think the whole persona, the Stath, I do think he was one of the best blink and you miss it cameos in it.
I'm off to dig some graves.
Yeah, see you later. But what's even better? I've just revelation after all these years of like loving the past franchise. So I'm thinking Vin Diesel's real name something like Vincenzo fucking Corleone or something like that. Real name, Mark Sinclair. Well, that's just shocked me. Mark Sinclair. Vincent is his mother's maiden name or something, or some end name. And Diesel's because his friends said he was full of energy. So he wanted to act tougher when he was a doorman on the bar tunnel, which I was saying, for that TV show. But yeah, Vin Diesel. So Dave, what could mine? So you think about my background. Mine would be, what could mine be? Mine's got to be something like fucking wanker something or shoulder, something shoulder. You know what I mean? Lauren Shoulder is my fucking stage name.
I think there's loads of different things that you could do for that, isn't there? What is it? Your first pet's name and your mother's maiden name,
and the street you lived on, or
yeah.
Rocky Rainey's mine. Rocky Rainey. That's a proper porn name.
Sandy Swift is mine, which I think is a decent porn name as well.
Yeah. Go on, Jack. What's yours?
So what we're doing? We're doing maiden name and
so first pet's name and maiden name.
So mine would be Zorro Lindsay.
Oh, what a name! Now that's pretty good. We've just done Boogie Nights, haven't we? So you've got Rocky Rainey.
Yeah, the three of us. Yeah.
What's yours?
Sandy Swift.
Sandy Swift, and then we've got Zorro what?
Zorro Lindsay.
That is a top name. So you can imagine all of us, like his character in Boogie Nights, Dirk Diggler's fucking brilliant. That film they did, that could be the three of us. Have dong will travel. You know what I mean? We don't just fire bullets in.
Are we in the same scene or are we in different scenes?
Well, as long as you don't make eye contact, I'm fine.
What's on offer here?
Don't start getting the tape measures out or anything. Yeah, we're fine. Yeah, fucking brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But no, but yeah, I think like what you say about the stage blinking, you miss it. That's the problem. I think when they build up to certain scenes, like you said about John Cena, Dave, he's not in it long enough, is he? You know, he comes into it. And I was looking at the clock, and I'm sure you've done the same, Jack, it's literally an hour and 10. The movie's 2 hours 20. It's about an hour and 10, hour and 15 before the Stath's in it. And he's in it for that whole scene, and then he disappears, doesn't he? There's no redemption.
So I had heard he wasn't in it much, which is why I didn't bother going to see this at the cinema. Why I thought I'd just wait. By the point this came out, I was already well into this journey of going through the Stath's filmography. So yeah, when I'd heard he was barely in it, I just thought, I'll just wait then. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because it feels like John Cena is doing what the Stath did in 8.
8, yeah.
Playing that, you know, coming in and doing a few scenes and having the laugh and having a connection with a new character. And that's what we had the Stath doing with the baby, didn't we, in 8? And now, the Stath's sort of been reduced to being, sort of a one-line cameo punchline, really, isn't it? Which is a shame. But I assume he'll be back for more in the next ones. He seems to be up for it no matter what. And I think the only thing I guess that I found interesting was that they've obviously won't know, unfortunately, but the start of the scene with Han and Shaw, when Han's at the door and he opens the door and Shaw pulls him in, that was the post-credit scene from 9.
Yeah.
So at that point, we didn't know like how it was going to fit into the overall story. So I think that's quite an interesting idea. And I was racking my brains before we came on to talk because I feel like I've seen that done somewhere else, where like there's a stinger which then becomes a wider moment, a wider scene in a later movie. And I think it's quite an interesting idea to try and do that. I don't know if you guys can think of another movie that's done that.
I don't know. Where my mind was going then was if the MCU didn't do what the MCU did throughout the 2010s. I know you kind of had Iron Man started a little bit earlier in 2008, but it was really through the 2010s where it dominated, wasn't it? That whole build up to Endgame. If you didn't have that, I just wonder, would this franchise be what it is? It does seem to me, again, coming in as an outsider almost, that they borrowed so many things from the Marvel, you know, like just the idea of an end credit, like, you know, that is in the public zeitgeist. And yeah, it wasn't really. I mean, Marvel didn't create the end credit, but they made it a thing, you know, so just having it in this franchise as well, along with, like I say, they've got a lot of people from the Marvel and the DC universe as well as these superhero characters, and the fact that it is very superhero-ish, I just wonder how much it has influenced it.
Now you said Endgame, that's really interesting. This movie is kind of the Endgame of the Fast franchise, isn't it? Because, you know, with Endgame, how they go back, they kind of cycle back through all the kind of things that have happened before in Endgame. Obviously, they literally do it. They go back through time. But here we get a lot of the things, you know, when Giselle comes back in, which is a ridiculous moment, she's on the sub from Fast 8. When the helicopters shoot the bolts into the side of Dom's car, that's from Fast 5, because they did... Is it far? I don't know. Who can remember anymore? But all these things are like callbacks to previous films as well. So that's really interesting. I hadn't thought of it, so you've just put it in that way. But this is kind of the Endgame callback Fast and Furious franchise entry, where each little moment is supposed to make you go, "Oh, I remember when they did that in." Because him catching Little B is what happens in Fast 7, isn't it? When Letty's being catapulted over the freeway, do you remember?
Grabs her,
and Vin jumps out of the car and grabs her, and so all these little moments feel like they're kind of meant to be, like a greatest hits.
Yeah, but even just, I mean, this would be Fast 10 or Fast X or Fast 10 would almost be the Infinity War. equivalent, wouldn't it? It
Yeah.
finishes
I
on
guess,
a bit of
yeah.
a downer. Just escaped, but is Dominic dead? And the plane's just been shot down. This is everyone turning to dust, and so the next movie will be the end game.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. I mean, it's not exactly original anyway, is it? The plot is even for me, you can pull a shit movie out of the back pocket and go, I really enjoyed that. It's the greatest movie ever. The end bit with the dam is fucking nonsense. That whole bit, the way the car careers over that and the gravity just pulls it in. His wheels are on fire, but he gets the nos out and can just outpower this fucking
He
career.
can outrun fire.
Yeah, fire, and then just like dives in the sea. He dives in the sea, dives in the dam, and then him and his son get out of this fucking vehicle like it's nothing. And I'm just like, right.
Have you seen the Happening, the Mark Wahlberg movie, M. Night Shyamalan?
No.
So sorry, I'm about to ruin a moment, but
Has it got a twist in it?
Well, shocker, it has. In one scene in that movie, they try to outrun the wind. And that's what this made me think of. Like, you got Mark Wahlberg running up a hill, like, quick, the wind's coming, we've got to outrun it. And here you've got like Dom, quick, hit the nose, we've got to speed faster than fire. Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
It's fucking outstanding.
I was really disappointed though, because we spoke earlier about the little B scene, and he's teaching him how to do, like, it's not quite donuts, but they're doing like an infinity, actually, Dave, aren't they? They're doing an infinity symbol around the palm trees. That felt like a Chekhov's moment to me, where like, oh, this is going to come back later. And it didn't. What that's, later he's going to have to drift. He's teaching him to drift, essentially, isn't he? So later little B's going to have to drift to get out of a situation. So that's where I thought that scene in the car was going to go, was that, with Reyes, was that the little B would have to take over the car and have to drift to get out of a situation, or drift into Dom, but they did the whole leap thing instead. Maybe that's what's going to happen in 11.
It's like The Room, isn't it? Where they just put out these things that you think, oh, that's gonna pay off later. Oh yeah, I've been to the doctor, I've got cancer. Yeah, we'll never address that again. It's a bit like that, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I did think that when I was watching the first time, thinking, well, he's obviously going to be doing a 1/4-mile race to save his dad from imminent death or something, or he's going to get kidnapped, and then they think they've got to save him, but the next minute the kid's fucking leading the charge with a big fucking. He ends up wearing a white vest with a big crucifix chain, and fucking shaves his head off and goes, "Yeah, who needs my dad? Fuck family. I'm in charge now. I don't know." I think you're right, though. I think in the next one, the timeline probably going to do a bit like a Rocky, between Rocky 3 and Rocky 5, Rocky 4, Rocky 5. Where
he goes away for Christmas and he comes back and he's 10 years older.
He's gone through puberty and he's about 15. Yeah, no problem with that son. Like from one movie to the next. So we're going to get that, I think, aren't we? The son, little B's going to be about 18 now with a fucking bum fluff and a credit card or something. It's fucking nonsense, isn't it? Because he's working on the car, don't forget.
Maybe it's like he's a clone, isn't he? He's an
LMD. We were talking about.
Yeah.
But he was also the most well-behaved child as well, because when Momoa stole him and sort of put him in the passenger seat, he just sits there, doesn't he? He's not kicking and screaming or anything, just very quietly. And if you've ever been on a road trip with kids, best fucking behaved child of the lot, So
exactly.
Yeah, I thought it was a bit weird.
Why isn't he sitting there? Are we there yet, Reyes? Are we there yet?
My dad's going to come and
go back.
My dad's going to come and beat the shit out. Yeah, it's fine. I'm not worried at all. Oh, okay then, no problem. Very strange. But David, there is the plot thing earlier on when Letty says, "We've told you, we've trained you for this moment, haven't we?" When they all come in the house and everything, and fucking as they run. But then Mia says, doesn't she, like, they're going to come and get him before Jacob arrives, and they're like, yeah, we've trained you, we've showed you what to do about this, haven't we? And he runs off and just gets in the bathroom and hides behind the fucking sink. They've done all that training, and he's behind the sink.
All these drills for this.
Yeah. Where are you going to hide in the panic room? No, I'm going in the bathroom and hoping they don't come in there because I put the lock on it. Yeah, with machine guns. Brilliant. What a film.
It's just one of the things that I've got in mind to talk about before we go. I know we're getting towards the time we've allocated. Anything else you guys want to talk about before I offer like kind of a final thought and then we look at some letterboxd?
No, I think sorry, David, I didn't mean to cut across you. I just think for me, like, it's a waste of Stath. I think you may as well have just had him at the end, Hobbs and Shaw, as a reveal, because I think that whole scene is just by coincidence are in London. They've gone, I'll tell you what, let's get the Cockney and his fucking mum, who's got an even worse fucking Cockney accent, and let's just throw them in there. And I just think it's a complete waste of him. He's such an interesting character in this franchise that it's just completely underused.
I think I've got everything off my chest. I'll sleep tonight.
But the only thing that my brain kept just coming back to one thing as I was watching it. Like, we know that Richardson's Ames is a bad guy in the end. So yeah, twist, he's on Dom's side. Oh, another twist. No, he's not. He's on Reyes's. But everyone else, I just assumed that were working for the agency were just like operatives, right? So I couldn't get my head away from the fact that Dom's crew definitely kill and maim dozens, if not hundreds, of these poor people who are just doing their job. And it just kept coming back to Clerks, that conversation in Clerks, where Randall's talking about, like, you know, the contractors on the Death Star in Return of the Jedi. They're just doing a job, and then in come the rebels, in come these insurgents, and they blow up the Death Star and kill all these poor contractors. I just kept thinking, like, this guy just works for the CIA and he's doing his job, and he's getting his ass absolutely handed to him by Shaw.
Yeah. I see. Oh God, you're gonna set me off now. So I mean, there's probably not time to go through all the ridiculous plot contrivances, but so even at the start, and again, I hadn't seen whenever Momoa had shown up the first time, assuming he did in the previous film. I assume that was just reshooting or re-showing some footage that had come before. So somehow, Charlize Theron's character, who's got this Blofeld-like lair and all these bodyguards and whatever, this crack team, you know, these aren't your mall rent-a-cop sort of things, you know. Somehow, Momoa's got the contact details for all of these people. Somehow, he's got them all tied up on his own, or are there other people there? Because he needs that group, but who's looking after the people that are at the other end of the phone? And I'm like, if you could do that, I'm sure you've got other people. I started to think it, and I was like, oh, fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm just going with it. Yeah, it was hurting my brain.
Don't think, Dave. Just do not think. It's pointless.
No. Another scene I liked, though, actually. I liked that scene between him and Thrawn Cypher.
If you can switch off your neocortex, I think, yeah, it looks great. But yeah, it just made no sense.
I think just because it looks like we're never going to get an Atomic Blonde sequel. So anytime we get to see Thrawn doing that kind of stuff, it's as close as we're going to get. So I just sit back and enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah. So it was good action when it got into it. Yeah, the problem I had was just the getting up to there.
The logistics, yeah. But again, you're focusing on logistics in a movie where Dom drives a Charger down a dam, outruns fire,
and fires a helicopter like a catapult at a car with his son in.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. How they got tied up if I was you. All right, I'm going to dive into Letterboxd. Then we're going to get a really surprising, it sounds like, final word from the two of you. Okay, I'm going to cut this one down a little bit because it's long, but it's got some interesting points. Blankman says, Fast X is just mind-numbing. It's nearly 2.5 hours of white noise, separating the ensemble and giving most of them nothing to do. Leterrier is such a massive step down as director. The action is incoherent and never exciting in any form. This style of action needs someone like Jason Statham at its centre, a man who gets the level needed to sell how cheap it's looking. I'm unsure if that makes sense, but he's a movie star of a certain angle where he can work wonders in a movie with this poor direction. And indeed, Statham's one action scene is the one time I felt engaged in the action and was actually excited to see how it would play out. And I'm going to skip. Fast and Furious has been falling apart for a while, but this feels like the logical endpoint for the collapse. All the characters in the action have been robbed of their personality, while the audience is robbed of a fun movie. At the premiere, Vin Diesel threatened a trilogy of this story, but anyone sane could easily see there's nothing left here. It was time for Fast to end once Diesel alienated Lynn from the franchise they built together, and with the latter and of course Paul Walker gone, this feels like a corpse of a franchise that Diesel is wheeling out to keep himself relevant, while his friends refuse to stop their paychecks. Honestly, it's just a bummer to watch all around. A painful film.
Sounds like my spirit animal.
Yeah.
But that sounds like someone who loved the franchise before. I just wonder, is this turning into like Star Wars or something? When you've just got all of these other factions of Star Wars fans, and you know, you've got like the prequels or the originals or the sequels or Clone Wars or whatever. Just because it makes money. This last one has made money. The fact it costs so much, you know, but plenty of bums on seats at the cinema.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? I think this one was fairly okay reviewed. I think people sort of said like 9 went too far. You know, they went to space. 9 did go too far, and it sort of did start to bring it back to what people liked more about the franchise. But yeah, I mean, you know, Chris, you're a purist. You're a early in the franchise purist. You prefer it's more base, and I don't mean that in a rude way. You know, without all the kind of the stuff on top, don't you?
Yeah, I just like I love the cars, the racing. I think it's mad because like I love Vin Diesel, like the early Dom, the real like he's got this real edge about him, like he's been absolutely kicks the shit out of that guy who ends up killing his dad. You know the wrench at the racetrack, and it's like a big thing of the first movie, and then even in the fourth one, it all comes to pass. Like he's still this absolute psychopath. He's been in jail, and there's just different. Or the fifth one is it? These different things that with his character, and then all of a sudden, like obviously, I've only learned recently. So last time, what jump the shark means. He's not even jumped the shark. He's jumped the fucking Meg. Is that why Statham's in it? Because it's like, it's just his ego is beyond anything now, isn't it? And like the reading the stuff behind the scenes, everything we're seeing on screen is just purely for him to look the best. And I know a lot like The Rock's not far off doing stuff like that, but make it make fucking sense for fuck's sake. The cars are literally, they might as well just be adamantium, might be the cars. You might as well just make them like Wolverine, just completely with impenetrable fucking metal that can literally not be destructive. It's indestructible. Yeah, I think that's what lets them down. And that Dom's going to come out the winner. Even the change in the one that we did where he became the baddie slightly because he's being blackmailed. It's a different take. And like we said about his mates all being absolutely shit on toast, basically. And I think that's what's wrong with the franchise. It's like, it should have been put to bed, I think, when Paul Walker sadly, left us. I think that's when it should have been done. At the end, when they both drive off separately, done, never to be seen again, never. And that's what's let them down, I think. It's just gone worse than ever.
All right, Waldo says, this is insane. 20 plus years of Vin's cut off black shirts. Louis Leterrier knows how to do this shit and play around with the right amount into every ingredient into this formula. No, I've read that twice and it still doesn't make sense. Momoa steals it and he knows it. Charlize fights, Michelle Rodriguez too. Brie Larson shows up and there's more ridiculous stuff, but it's exciting and funny and stupid and it keeps going and going. Statham starts fighting too. Cena flies on a kayak and has a bat cave. We get legendary actresses cashing big checks. Always an outdoor taco day long table and people drinking warm beer, sharing hearty laughs and crazy action. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Which, the review kind of reads that way, but I kind of like the fact that his brain just melted as he's watched this movie.
Lost the will to live by the end of the review, hasn't he, in the movie?
Fucking brilliant.
And then we're nearly at the end, so we've got to keep Lou going. Lou Shoemaker. Furious 7, here we go, Chris, would have been the perfect end to the franchise. But Fast X would be the funniest end to the franchise. All the fun has been drained from the franchise, and we're left with a completely phoned in and bloated blockbuster that's not even competently assembled. This movie reminded me of the Netflix seasons of Arrested Development, where they had to film everyone on a separate day. Vin Diesel barely ever shares the screen with anyone, instead communicating almost exclusively through walkie-talkies or over the phone. Jason Statham pops in for one scene that doesn't make a ton of sense. It's Han's first time meeting him since Sung Sang came back to the franchise, but they treat the scene like Han actually died. They talk about Statham's character Deckard Shaw as if Han should have some grudge, but the retcon in F9 means Shaw helped Han fake his death, so why is there animosity? Then there's a perfunctory fight scene, and Statham leaves the movie. I was kind of stoked for him to show up, but like so much of the movie, his scene just feels like wheel spinning.
Very true.
All right, so as always, quite a broad mixture of reviews. That was a 1 and a 5 and a 2 star reviews. Oh, and I think this one's.
Sorry,
Go on.
84% on Rotten Tomatoes audience score. Less on the critic score, but 84% from the audience. So that's an eclectic set of reviews you picked out there, but there's clearly a lot of love for this film, not just the franchise.
And I think it's because this is, to me anyway, this feels like a bit of an uptick again. I think 5 for me. 5 is always going to be the high point, and 7 is kind of next, and then it's 8 came down a little bit, then 9 came down a little bit more, and then Hobson Shaw started bringing it back up again, and then so I think I'm here for all the critiques you both made, but I think it knows it and it doesn't care, and it's just decided it's going to do it. I don't think Letier's a great director. I don't think he ever has been, if I'm honest. He did the 2 Transporter movies with the Statham, and he did The Incredible Hulk, which is kind of sort of MCU adjacent continuity, but not. But he doesn't do a lot of directing anymore, and he was just obviously parachuted in here because Justin Lin walked away and refused to do it anymore. But it feels like, we've got some more of the core car racing stuff, and despite all the critiques we've got, it does feel like it's kind of moving back towards a higher point for the franchise to come to an end.
Yeah, it needs to.
If you say so.
All right, before I let you both go, where does this fall for the Stath? Is this one of his classic movies? Is this a movie of his that's worth catching, or should it only be for completists only? Chris, go on.
Yeah, so it's got to be for completionists only.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's got to. It's got to, because if you're going just for the Stath, it's fucking pointless. Like, it's just a really pointless. That whole scene could have been shoehorned in any of the movies if you're going to do that. So yeah, it's just a waste of the Stath. And if you absolutely love the Fast franchise, which I have done for years, so just these last ones have literally mentally drained me, as I've said a few times tonight. Yeah, you've got to be in it to win it. I think if you're really invested, then you'll watch it. But other than that, no.
Fair enough. Oh, Dave, I wonder.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're sort of a teenager or early 20s or something with all that disposable income and well, not so much, I guess, nowadays, but you've not got kids or anything, responsibilities, you've got fuckloads of time, watch it, and stay in it for a little bit. But I'd have to say it's for completionists, because if you're going to invest nearly 2.5 hours into watching this for the Stath, just watch these bits on YouTube or something. I'm sure it's up there. And you don't need to know anything else that's going on in the movie at all. So yeah, completionist for me. Yeah,
totally fair. And it's interesting. I was just trying to scroll as you guys were talking. I've got to go back to episode 22 for my last completionist only for the Stath, which was a movie called 13, which was a English language remake of a French movie. So it's been quite a while since anyone's felt like a movie of his is only for completionists only.
And that's not to downplay his performance. I think his performance is great in it. He's just in it so little. There's no real need to watch it. It's not like In the Name of the King, which is objectively terrible.
Yeah. Coming soon to VHS Strikes Back. I know you don't like to give away what's going on with the VHS, because I know you like to keep that as a bit of a reveal. But I don't know if there's anything with the reality that's going on that you can talk about. I know that you're doing something a bit different with one of your ventures there. So this is going to come out in a couple of weeks. Oh, nearly a month. This is due out on the 24th of June.
Well, so I usually, I try not to talk about what we haven't announced, but we are in the middle of Burt Reynolds' season. Nice little link there within the name of the king. So we had Stroker Race, which was an abomination, which was Chris's pick. Spoiler alert. And then we've just done Boogie Nights. So that's out this week. And since that episode's out, I can say, well, next week we'll be doing Deliverance as well. So I will say that was the first time Chris and I had both watched it all the way through. So that was quite interesting. You're getting raw opinions there.
Interesting language choice there, Dave.
Yeah, it was all very raw.
Yeah.
Look out for the music choice there as well. So yeah, and then on the reality cast, we've just wrapped up doing Love Triangle UK. Which is a 10-episode season, and we're just about to embark Love Island, the fucking next season. It's season 11. It's as bad as the Fast franchise is about to start. And not only that, for the first week, Chris is fucking off on holiday, so I'm drafting in Mike Burton for it. So under slight duress, I've recruited Mike to come in. So he's never actually watched it before. So it'll be Mike and Megan.
Fantastic.
So looking forward to that week one.
Yeah, well, they'll be here. You'll be hearing from Mike and Megan on this show as well, because of course they're coming back for me to do the Meg 2. So
nice.
Love it.
I think they'll have better things to say about Meg 2, to be honest.
Oh, maybe a crossover. I mean, Love Island, assumedly they're surrounded by a body of water.
Oh, fucking hell, I'd love to unleash a Meg on those bunch of fucking See You Next Tuesdays, but there you go.
The thing is, the amount of people who interact with us and watch and just they literally get offended, because like we were doing a daily podcast on it, like for the whole first 3 or 4 series that we did, together, and then it was like, we cannot sustain this. Like, at some point, I'll reveal my memoirs how we were doing that. If I win the lottery and I've not got a job, but it's like that. And it's great. We got that support. You get messages one the other day. You need to do a daily podcast. Yeah, I do. But also, 1, I've got a wife and a daughter. 2, I get up so early, and that's just from my side. And Dave's got his own stuff going on, so it was so difficult to manufacture. Honestly, Jack, it's unbelievable. But however, we love it.
We for a while, didn't we? It was fun, but I mean, you just can't sustain it. I mean, the problem is what sort of broke it a bit is they made the season even longer. So if you've got a short, I mean, that American season we did was about 4 weeks, wasn't it? And then the UK one was about 6 weeks, but now it's like 2 months, and it's on 7 fucking nights a week. Now we generally take the Saturday off, which is like unseen bits, it's like the stuff not in the main storyline, but 6 nights a week relentlessly for 2 months. So we just called an audible. It's like, it's got to be once a week. You just can't maintain it.
No, we can't.
Hats off to you for doing any of it, to be perfectly honest.
Great, brilliant.
You say that, but I mean, it's not that different to this franchise. There are a lot of, in this franchise, there's a lot of soap opera in it, isn't there? The losing your memory when it's convenient, and they thought they're dead, they're not dead. Proper Days of Our Lives stuff, and the reality TV, all the producers, because that's the thing, right? It's not really reality TV. It's not like Big Brother. It's not like you're actually watching real people. I mean, they are sort of real people, but a lot of them are just hungry to get more followers on Instagram and stuff. And then the producers are a bunch of see you next Tuesdays, so they're trying to manipulate situations and shouldn't you do this and do that? And so that's the most fun we have, to be honest, is calling out all that bullshit.
Love it.
And people clamoring for a daily podcast just shows how much they love what you do.
And we'd love to do it as well. So when that lottery win comes in,
hit us up.
All right, brilliant. Thank you, gents.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Jack.
And thank you, everyone, for listening, partaking in this journey with me through the Stath's filmography. That was Fast X. Next up in a fortnight, the magnificent Mike and Megan return to chomp on the Meg sequel, The Trench, which will be followed by yet another sequel offering, Expend 4 Balls, with my guest there sure to take it to the max for anyone that is watching along. I've been Jack's Musings, that's JACS, and you can find me on X where I'm most active. You can also contact the show directly on X or Instagram under the name Back to the Filmog. Make sure you use the hashtag #FollowTheFilmography. I'm also a proud member of the Comics Emotion family, a super place full of the world's greatest people, dedicated to bringing you podcasts on a variety of geeky topics. So, please make sure you take the time to search, subscribe, and rate our shows whenever and wherever you listen. Until next time, be excellent to each other, and make sure you take the time to treat yourself too. I am Jack signing off. Yippee-ki-yay, movie lovers.
Cut.
Engines roar, adrenaline ignites. Brothers bound by destiny in these endless fights. Through the wind, the danger scent is clear. Taking risks, face our fears. No time for tears. Gotta hit the road, pedal to the floor, faster than before, speeding past the law, racing through the night. This is what we do, fast and furious. It's the life we choose, bound by a code, family to the bone. In a world of chrome, where the fearless are known, facing rivals, taking on the heat. Unstoppable force, no retreat, no defeat. We live for the thrill, engines on fire, across the globe, raising the stakes higher. In every city, from LA to Tokyo, we carve our names as legends in the flow. Side by side, there's no quit in our veins. In this fast lane, only legacy remains. Through the chaos, we're riding high, with hearts of steel, under midnight sky. No matter the odds, we'll face every foe in this brotherhood. We're never alone. Turn the sail. Many roads we've crossed. Through the years, we've never lost. Building bridges between hearts so strong. Unity's the rhythm, like a timeless song. On this journey, with our heads held high. In the rear view, all the tears we've cried.